Ooh, it does have a light for it. Nice. That's what I was really hoping it had. So now we can take the light, rect light right here. And since we don't have to make one, we can go ahead and add one in. Hello everyone. Today I wanted to go over how to practice environment design. So environment design is, so I wanted to do an alleyway scene. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a few references. So go in here, here's some references of alleys. Oh, that's of course images. So what the thing is if we were looking at references, we would want to find a few that gives us some good ideas on what to look for when making an alley. This one has a lot of graffiti, has lights coming down. This one looks like it's obviously AI generated. This one looks a little bit better. So this one looks like an actual alleyway. The road kind of cracks downward to the center, and the walls all lift up. There's some areas connecting between the two. You got the little rafters for the stairways. You got little areas they can go into. So this gives a few decent little ideas to look at for when you're actually building it and remaking it. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go through, we're going to recreate a type of alley. So now that we've gone through and looked at a few, I got a few really nice ideas that I want to go with. So I didn't like the description that I gave environment design. So I wanted to come back and re-record it because you deserve a better one and they deserve a better one. Although people out there doing environment design. Environment design is taking the area that the level designer has set up and working with the story in order to make it look beautiful, but also help it to tell the story of what's going on. I shown before of the thing of a frame being set up tells a story, but the frame being set down also tells a story. Even to the part where if somebody's sitting in a chair and they lean their hand forward, take a frame, and they set it on their front, that all tells a story. So the grunge here, the little spray paint on the walls, that all is part of telling the story. The little laundry lights tells you that that's a laundromat there, so you know that you're going over and what you're finding. So an environment artist is the one that will go in and take the level design that was focusing mainly on the gameplay and making everything work right and turns it into the story using the environment. They also are in charge of taking those models and the setup and working alongside the area that the level designer has built and set up and making it so the player can go through there and won't get caught on anything. So as they're replacing the meshes and all that, they're readjusting them so that way the player isn't going to run into something and get stuck there when they don't want them to be able to get stuck there. So yeah, enjoy the rest of the video. I hope this is a better description. And so we're going to hop into Unreal now. So with Unreal open, we're going to create a new map. Alley. We're going to go directly into it, and we're going to set up a nighttime scene. So one thing you can do, there's an old pack I used to love using if you don't have any models yourself, and that is the Soul Cave pack made by Unreal. I believe it is always free, Soul Cave and Soul City. We go to Fab Marketplace. Yeah. This is an older pack, but it still has a bunch of fun models you can use to work with. It gives you slum walls and some brick materials you can work with, some signs and everything. This is actually one of the levels I used to create my very first scene myself. And the models are still decent quality. See, you can still use them to make some nice looking stuff. So, like I said, it's Epic Games Soul City in the Fab Marketplace. It's a good one to look at if you're wanting to pick one up. And this will give you plenty of models to work with. I'm going to use a newer one that is released this month for free, and that is the Downtown Alley Pack. So we're going to add this to the project and use it. I believe we already did, so let's scroll up and find it. Downtown Alley, good. So let's first start with our lights and everything. Directional, skylight. Then we got our sky atmosphere, volumetric clouds, and then our exponential height fog. Here we go. So now that we've got all this set up, let's go ahead and set our nighttime setup. Let's take our light, change it to a blue color, and then dim it down. That'll give us a setup right away. And then we'll want to do a post-processing effect. So we'll just go to the visual effects and drop it in. There we go. And we'll want to go to unbound, of course. Set the infinite extent unbound. And then we'll go into our exposure, not our exposure. We're going to go down to, actually, yes, it is exposure. Our exposure, and we're going to go to max EV and min EV and set them both to 0. Here we go. So now we got at least a little setup to go with for here. So what we're going to do is we're going to see if we've got any buildings in here or little roads. Do we have roads? We do not. We're going to take a look at what's in this pack. So we got some brick walls. So I'm going to create the little alley first. There's a wall. There it is. Ah, it's one-sided and it didn't show me. Okay. So with this, I can actually set this to 5. Duplicate it over. There we go. And of course, we'll want some differences in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a whole little alley real quick. So I'm going to take these build walls, raise them up a little bit. And of course, I'm going to extend it a little bit more. And I'm going to make some changes on the walls. So now that I've got something set up, like I said, normally if you're building an actual game, you'll have a level designer that has already set some stuff up for you to go ahead and play through. Some of them will even actually build the walls and floors for you. You'll swap out the regular meshes. Really depends on how that team is set up to work. So we're going to go ahead and add a couple of differences along here. So that way the alley won't look super bland. And then we're going to go ahead and from here, I'm going to take these, slide it over. Then we're going to take these, and since we know we're not ever going inside, we're going to turn it 90 degrees. And we're going to slide it over. Perfect. And we're going to actually take these, duplicate them again, 90 degrees, and we're going to pop it back a few to add a bit of extra depth to the scene. So now we're going to drag over, and one more time. We're going to take this one and replace it with this. Then we're going to duplicate this over. There we go. We got those. Now we just duplicate on over one more time. There we go. Now we've got one whole wall set up. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a third person. There we go. Third person character. And what this is going to do is this is going to give us a scale of the area we're working in. So now that we've got the character, we don't want it to be super wide, but we want it wide enough to be able to really sell everything. So we're going to take these. We're going to kind of duplicate it over, really get what we're going for. Kind of duplicate it around. And we're going to kind of mix it up a little. We're going to make it to where the alley itself actually shifts at that spot right there. There we go. Then we can take right here, duplicate it over. We're going to go back to that folder that has these and swap it out for something a little different. We really want this area to be sold differently. So we're going to take that. We're going to get rid of those other walls right here. There we go. Now we got this full-blown little corner area. That's kind of selling a bit more. We're going to turn our light. Show off that edge a bit more. We're going to go back to our skylight. We're going to set it to movable and then real-time capture. So now both sides are lighting up a bit better. There we go. Now we got this little alleyway going on. The, we're going to go ahead and duplicate this and set a distance building down and set it over on the opposite side. So there we go. There's our little alley and there's a little building in the background. Go ahead and turn the light a bit more to where the building's lit up slightly. There we go. Maybe a sign right here. What we're going to do is we're going to take these walls and we're going to duplicate them up a few stories. So that way they really kind of block off our height range. So normally I don't do screenshots, but we're doing the screenshot style because when you're practicing environment art, it's good to learn how to make things look great on top of just making them functional. So you want to practice and get good at understanding how to make something look good. As well as when you run into certain areas, you'll want to learn how to model a little bit. I know plenty of environment artists are also 3D modelers, so that they can take care of models that they need at any moment instead of going by and waiting for the company to have a model made for them. So we're going to do that. We're going to kind of make this area look a little bit more lively. Let's go ahead and paste one more time. Oh. So we're going to take all these walls one more time. I'm going to go up a little bit higher. Boop, boop, boop. And if you wanted to go even more simple, you can use the starter content SM cube and build these walls. Use bricks for the material of the starter content and use that as well. So that way you don't have to look at having a pack like this. Or the soul cave. So now we're going to actually take this. See if it fits along here. Oh, it's one of those signs. So we're going to take it's a parking sign. Launder. There we go. Let's go ahead and use this sign. Perfect. We'll get into the lighting in a minute, but I want to really sell the world first. So we're going to go through and do all that. So once we've got a nice little bit of area set up, can we get, let's add one with a window up there, just a window. Window. There you go. So copy paste. Okay, so does that work? No, they got something set up for the windows. There they are. So now we find a window one. We're gonna add in. It's great. Take this one, set a quad window. There we go. Which means we gotta delete this wall. We're gonna get some windows in here. Because I want this place to feel alive and not just like it's here. So here we go, some windows. We're going to leave it cracked. We could fix that, but we're going to leave it cracked because use that for a little bit of environment storytelling. Make this place seem more dingy than it actually is. We're going to scale it slightly. The way it fits. There we go. Put it back to 5. Duplicate over. Duplicate over. And duplicate over. There we go. So now when we look down here, there's a bit more depth on that wall than the basic it was before. Let's see what else we can kind of add in here. I've only got about an hour to work on this. So there we go. Let's get some ground in here. There we go. A little sewage, sewer area. Oh, that should be plenty. So now we've got the area wide enough. We're gonna go ahead and start placing our ground and such. So let's go ahead and get a couple of these placed. Here we go. So now we can really just duplicate around, and we'll swap out the meshes later. Right now I just want to use the original one so that way I can get it filled. And don't worry if you're brand new to this and you're not going fast like this. It takes a lot of practice and effort to get to being fast. I used to do challenges where I gave myself about 2 hours a day to make an entire little scene like this and make it workable. So here we go. We're going to slide this on back. Tick. There we go. We're going to take a little bit further forward. And because we're only working this little area, we don't have to worry about the rest. And this would allow us to actually make a little render if we wanted to turn this into a little video. There we go. There's our little ground setup. Looks like it goes just a tad bit too low, so let's switch this to 1 and go tick, tick. There we go. Now it's good. Now we're going to take an SM cube, because the light does not always shadow properly when you're using one-sided models. So I'm going to take an SM cube for this, slide it over, and then slide it up. Since the sun is coming from that way, we're going to slide it over, slide it up. See, now we've got this much harsher shadow. We're going to lower this a little bit because we don't want it visible over the side of the building. There we go. Now we got a nice, a bit harsher shadow. We're going to take this and we're going to grab it. We're going to replace this wall with it. So that way we can continue getting some depth along there. You take these and duplicate them over, because we don't want this wall to feel flat at any moment. Because we want it to feel like a path straight forward, yes, but it's not designed to look extremely plain. There we go, there's that. So we're going to go to our skylight. You can turn up the intensity of time. Actually, we're going to go to the post-processing to do that. So in our post-processing, we're going to go to the local exposure. We're going to take the shadow contrast and lower that a little bit. Brighten up our shadows down here. There we go. We're going to take this glass and see if we can emissive it real quick. Emissive color. We can. So we want to go with light white. There we go. So what this allows us to do, okay, so we're going to take a small rect light. I'm going to turn it 90 degrees. Set it against the wall. And we're going to turn off the specular, because it should be coming from inside, not right there. There we go. Hit G to expose it. And then we're going to slide not the height, we're going to use the width. Extend the width. There we go. So now it's coming from that entire area. We're going to duplicate it up so the top part doesn't hide it. We're going to set both of these to movable, and we're going to set them to 4. There we go. So now we got a little bit of light coming from that building right there. We would want the road over here, but we still need to extend the ground a little bit. Set this back to 5. We'll extend it one more. There we go. We got this little road and alleyway and all that set up. Wow. Road. Okay, so what other grounds do we got? that could work. Ground sidewalk. Let's go ahead and see if we got a good large sidewalk. We do not. So what we're going to do is we're going to lower this and kind of give it the illusion of having a sidewalk over here. Swap it with the regular ground, so that way it doesn't always have those little water vents on there. Slide it on over, snap it into place. There we go. There's that, and then we'll kind of swap it around. We'll take these, and then these grounds right here. We're going to take the first one in the middle. Didn't work. Okay, so we're going to slide it over here. We're going to kind of create a false little area, so that way we never have to worry about the road, because you'll never see it. So this is a big difference between level designer and environment artist, is when you're practicing environment art, you don't have to make a fully functioning level. You need to make something that's beautiful, works together, everything matches each other, and it develops a style rather than just make something that is functional. Because a level designer wants it to look nice, but their main focus to make something functional for the game project itself. An environment artist can do an entire project for their environment design without needing the gameplay elements for any of it. So I just needed to know that I wanted to do an alleyway. So if I wanted to practice making alleyways, I now know, okay, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do an alleyway. Alright, so I'm going to have to pull open a road from another pack. And that sidewalk, I need road. Or a street. There we go. Because I could be I could go even faster and use prefab meshes. I have a whole city building pack I could use for that. But I wanted to go through the process of actually making something. So let's go to our city street pack. And I'm going to type in road in here. Here we are. That's a 1x8. I want 8x8. Make sure to constantly be saving, by the way, because you don't know when your project's going to crash. Let's use a little 8x8 road here. We almost nearly perfected it. Which, if I had just been starting, I likely would not have gotten that close. And like I said, start small and grow big. Because if you start on something big, you will take away your ability to have that satisfaction of it being complete anytime soon. So those little victories will help of doing it on a smaller scale will help you get to the point where you're able to do the bigger stuff faster, more efficiently, and you'll still have a little feeling of success after a little while, instead of having to do it right away each time. There we go. Oh. The cube is a little too close. Take it back a little. A little bit more. There we go. Let's go ahead and put a little garage right here. There we go. So now we've really got this area is starting to come together a lot better. It's not incredible just yet. I'm working with models I've never used before. We're going to go ahead and set a little car here. Kind of show that they come in here and they park their vehicle even though they're not supposed to. Kind of shows the state of the area as well. We're still super early in on this too. So let's go ahead and take a look at a few things. Let's go ahead and put this power pole along here. There we go. We're starting to come up with something that's not too bad. Some stairs. Go ahead and do another set above it. There we go. So now you're adding a bit more depth and level to the scene. We'll want to put another set over here. Slide another one in mid. And then take both of these, slide them up, and put the bottom on there. The low end. There we go. Take those and slide them on up. We really wanted to take it a little bit further. We could slide it a little bit forward to where those windows are there, so they're kind of connected. We'll never see up there, so we don't have to worry about it. There we go. That's a bit better. Put a little trash bin right here. The trim of the buildings. There we go. So now we want to take every single one of these. All of them at the top. I could technically get away with just doing the front view, but we're not going to. We're going to find the flat edge trim. So let's go with this trim. There we go. We're going to slide it up to the top. There we go. So now the buildings have a top to them. For these little corner bits, we're going to add this little trim right here. Help it really stand out a bit more rather than just the flat brick everywhere. And it's paying attention to all these little details, because if I just left that like that, it would work, but it wouldn't be as much of an eye catcher. So this might seem small and inefficient. I mean, small and completely unhelpful. And I know there are more ways, there are systems to be able to place walls and stuff a lot faster. But I wanted to do this for this way to show people how to do it before you have the use of all those plugins and stuff that you could use. Here we go. Slide this corner right here. I thought, what's a better way to show you how to go ahead and environment design than to just build a small one real quick. There we go. So now we got these corners. All right, a little wooden pallet right over here by the car. Maybe set a few of them. There we go. So now we know that there's something going on right there. Maybe a little deal. Now we need some lights. Do these posts. So I'm going to take a wall light. Little blue one right here. 90. Stick it to the wall. There we go. We're going to take a little spotlight now. Slide it on down. If you really wanted to, you could actually go through and practice your level design first and then use that to practice your environment art. And it'll allow you to kind of get good at both. Let's go ahead and extend this, extend that. I'm going to change that light bulb to be more of a white instead of a blue. There we go. We're going to keep that saturation into the light itself though. So that way it kind of gives a bit more of a tone to the area. We're going to take another one and we're going to slide it on down closer to where we start the scene, which would be over here. We're going to set one above this building. right above the door, actually. We're going to set it to where it kind of hangs over the vent. Because these alleyways tend to have a lot of lights, as our references showed. Let's go ahead and get that placed right there. There we go. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to duplicate it over to the window as well. So now we've got a little lit up area. We can take our ground and look through our selection of grounds now. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to go into this asphalt. I don't like how reflective it is, so we're going to actually go into the asphalt itself, raise the roughness a bit. There we go. It's a bit better. Save. Now we're going to swap around the asphalt here and there. One thing that we could also do is if we really wanted to sell this area, just this, putting a little sign right here. Slide it up a little so it looks like it's just behind the edge. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a little light. We're going to kind of make it look like they set a little light system up to kind of show it off. If we were animating the scene, we could even make the light flicker and a few other things. Let's add the width. Nope, not the height. The width to it. There we go. Maybe take it up a little bit forward. Slide this back a bit. There we go. So now we see a little auto repair. We're going to slide it forward a little bit because we want it visible. Right there. So it looks like the light, it's being lit up from little light down there. So there we go. All right. And we want this place to look dingy, like I said before. So we're going to put some trash cans around. Maybe a whole bin back here. Let's go ahead and replace this one with a bin. That's the bin for that business right there. And we've gone ahead and created a small little area. It's nothing insane. I wasn't trying to make something omega incredible. It would take a lot longer than just like an hour or two. So here we go. We've got a nice bit set up. We could swap around the trims if we wanted to, add more windows. I'm actually going to change some more of these walls. Let's change this with, actually nah. But we are going to make a little vent exit right here, kind of make it rise up. So that we're in an alley. There we go. All right, so I want to put a little aircon main. Let's go ahead and put one over here. Flip it around. A little air conditioner on this window. Go back to swapping the grounds now. Let's go ahead and take this one right, not that one. Let's take this one right here and swap it with this ground. Let's go through and add just a couple of variations. Let's take this one to ground 2, ground 4. Yeah, a little drain and a sewer. That one we can make into ground 3. Kind of add these drains along here just to add a bit of a slight change. There we go. So that adds a bit more to the floor. I don't like how much blue we've got going on, so we're going to take these lights and we're going to get rid of that blue that we added earlier. There we go. You take the directional light. We're actually going to get rid of some of the blue. We're going to darken it a bit more. There we go. Take our fog. Gonna get rid of the black of the inner scattering. We're gonna lower the density. There we go. Lower the opacity now. Now we got some fog going on. Go to the skylight. I think the skylight's doing just fine. We could go in and set up some HDR arrays if we wanted to, but I don't want to. Take this, kind of give this some windows here. What we're really doing is we're taking the world and kind of evolving it a bit. Or the design and kind of evolving it a bit. Duplicate around. Remember, just a few minutes ago, we didn't even have this area set up. None of this was here or anything. All we had was an idea. So doing these practices will allow you to take your idea and know how to take it into actual 3D space. There we go. We can take this and we can actually delete all of these, which we're going to do. And we didn't delete them before because we didn't have the idea that we were going to use these. So don't be afraid to evolve your idea as it goes along and swap out some meshes, especially if it's not going to take long and it's going to add a big difference. There we go. There we go. So now that alley has all these windows set up. Here we go. It's looking a lot nicer, kind of spiffy. Let's see if we got anything other than just a couple of trash bags to lay along the floor. We have our lights over there. Of course, we would want to set another one right here because there's the building right there with the door. The door would want to have a light. And we can even mix it up and set a light inside of there, but we're going to stick to the same light we have just to kind of give ourselves a slight challenge by limiting ourselves here. So challenging yourself can allow you to kind of evolve and change the way you're working on these levels or these environments. And it's just going to help you become better. So here we go. Nice little area set up. If I want to go back in and kind of make it a bit nicer, I can actually go into the post-processing. And let's raise the shadow contrast a tiny bit now that we got lights in here. There we go. That's looking better. I don't necessarily like the ground that we have here because it's so reflective. So we're going to go back into it. And we're going to look for the specular. Okay, so I'm going to actually go into the master material now and edit the specular because a lot of these materials don't have that in there. So I'm going to go ahead and create one, hold S, click, and then I'll create a scalar parameter, or you can right click, doing constant 3 vector. And then, oh, sorry, not vector 3, sorry, constant. And then you can right click it and type convert and click convert to parameter, and I'm going to name it specular. Once I connect this into the specular, I can hit apply. I probably should set it to 1 or the 0.6 that it's normally at. But there we go. Once I hit apply, it's going to go to everything. There we go. Now the floor is not super reflective anymore. We're going to go in here. We're going to go back to the asphalt. We're going to find the specular. I'm going to raise it a tiny bit to like 0.01. That gives it at least some reflectiveness. Now we're going to look at some fog. Okay, so it's not called fog. We're going to go to the particles, smoke. Okay, so they have it called smoke on here. I'm going to let that load for a second. Okay, so we have to simulate for this smoke. So let's go ahead and simulate and see what it looks like. So it's a little smoke just kind of floating there. So I have a few ideas we could do for that. So we're going to actually take this, we're going to scale it up a little bit. We're going to duplicate it along, back over here. Maybe a little bit right back here, a little bit right there. There we go. We're going to hit simulate. It's okay. I'll just go to local fog volume, drag it over here. We're going to use our own little setup of local fog to kind of control this area a bit better. So what we're going to do to make this fog show up sooner is we're going to do r.localfogvolume.global start distance and set it to 0. So now I can take this fog and kind of set it up where I want along here. That was weird. It deleted itself. I'm going to take these local fogs and kind of place them throughout the little area. Kind of create a little ground fog. Kind of add some depth to the scene. Gonna change the color a little bit to be a bit more white, so we're gonna add some red to counteract the blue. There we go. It's kind of flat, so you would have to create a little material for it to make it a bit better. But for what we're going for and just a little practice area, it's not too bad because I'm not trying to render this out and make it look incredible for a portfolio piece. This is just to show you all like how to actually go in and practice this. There we go. So now we got some local fog volume. So the reason that we had to do that command is local fog volume is always set to 2000 at the start. You have to go into the Unreal folders and actually edit it to have a start distance of 0 if you want it to be able to go at the right against you at the very beginning. There we go. This is a small little scene. Like I said, it's nothing incredible, but it works for what we're going for. We could continue going and add a few more things. Like I said, we've done this for... The video has only been recording for about 43 minutes, and it took a few minutes to get everything set up and going after I started the recording. So yeah, having gone from nothing to this in 40 minutes, that's not too bad. Nothing to go incredible over. Like, we still have to build some scenery along the floor. We could add some grunge if I wanted to. I could go over to my city pack and make this really blow up and make it look beautiful. I could actually go in and swap out the whole mesh walls. But I'm going to go to my materials and instead go to decals, some graffiti. Put some graffiti on the wall over here. 90. Alright, so let's swap around and get some graffiti going. And we could even swap around the light if we didn't like it like that. If we wanted it to be dark and focus our lights, we could kind of get rid of the directional light or kind of angle it a bit more on the side. Even create a little cast of a shadow on there. It's really learning and figuring out what you want it to do. So we got the graffitis up there. Let's go ahead and get some puddles in here. Make it look like it kind of rained recently. A little dirt won't hurt. So tying your decals with your floor and everything, if you do it right, can work really well. It comes in the square. If you set this to 0.01, you can align it however you want. So I'm gonna have to turn off that for it. There we go. There we go. It's a little dirt. Some more leaking stuff right here. So it looks like it's leaked over there. Let's get rid of that smoke. We don't need that anymore. Get rid of some of these fog volumes, like this one right here, we don't need. The one way back here can kind of be toned down a little bit. So let's kind of lower all of them to that low. 0.2. There we go. So everything is a little bit cleaner. There's still that fog there. I could keep adding edge dirt along the entire thing if I wanted to. I don't. Let's go back to the decals. Let's add a bit more graffiti. See what this one looks like. There we go. I could even go in here, look at some meshes and some trash. Even these little tiny cans, I can start placing them one at a time so that this place is kind of a dump. And if I don't want it to receive decals, I can type right here. Okay, we'll just type decal. I can turn off the ability for it to receive decals. I'm gonna set a little sofa in here to show people like hang out at this area. Yeah, it's kind of making this place look awful to be in. If we really wanted it to look nasty, we could add one of these dumpsters instead of the one we had and kind of mix it up a bit. Of course, shrink this down to not touch it, or just do the don't receive decals. There we go. Now we're starting to get there. A little trash for the spot over here. Or even like just put it inside this box if we wanted to, but I'm just gonna kind of leave it right there. And we can really dirty this place up however much we want until it fits what we're going for. Like I could even just do this and kind of grow it to the sides if I wanted to. Now the place is looking trashed. Maybe even a knocked over trash bin where that with some trash laying out of it. Showing that even though it's right there, the people are willing to trash the place, so they do not care. Alright, so go into our post-processing, and we can kind of clean up a few things in here. The shadow contrast, maybe raise the shadow contrast a bit. Use our darkness to our advantage. Like I said, if I wanted to do this again, I'd probably swap some of the meshes that I'm using for this. I can actually go through and click my spotlights and kind of shrink how far they reach out. So 750, maybe 450. There we go. This one can kind of reach over here. Actually use it a little bit to light up that spot right there. So I'm going to use this to light up the trash bin. There we go. Now we've got a whole little area we've designed. Like I said, we could go through and keep adding stuff to this and make it look extremely nice and a couple of other things. Little ash bin right here. And there we go. So this needs to be raised up a tiny bit. Too much. And if we really wanted to do it right, we could, instead of like growing it all the way across, I could actually slide it inside of here. Kind of cut the halfway point in there, like duplicate it along. And I could take the rest of them, instead of doing it like I did. There we go. Duplicate it to the other side with this side sticking out. And kind of use that to kind of build the area. Take our trash piles and kind of build some that are more along the center of the area. Take our skylight, kind of increase it a little bit. Oops, too much. There we go. And go back to our post-processing and raise the shadow contrast down a little bit. Kind of show off our little dark spots. So like I said, not the best level ever. And I wasn't actually going for the best level ever. I wouldn't want that on here for a little test. But it helps me get used to practicing and testing everything. There we go. So now we got this whole setup going. So in less than an hour, maybe 40 minutes, we've gone from nothing to this whole setup area. They said not the best looking level ever, but it looks all right. If we wanted to take a step further, we would want to use our cinematic camera actor, kind of snap it over here, pilot it, kind of adds a bit more depth to everything. It's really set it to 50 on the focal length. And set up a little focus area. Maybe swap where that sofa is at to be the other side. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We're going to swap the sofa side. If we really wanted to, we could even set another one over there. Kind of set it over here in front of these windows. Slide it over to be just in that light right there. Of course, we could set some stuff over there as well. Like if I got benches. Let's go to our city street and then type bench. Here we go. Let's go ahead and throw a bench across the street. One thing we could do is add some light over there. What we could do for that is we could actually, okay, so there we go. That's why. It looked weird. We could type in car. Because I want a vehicle. Let's take this van right here. We're actually going to swap out the van we have in here because I like this van more. I'm going to slide it over in place right here. I'm going to slide this over because that van would have had a hard time getting in here with it right there. I'm going to take the car right here. We're going to put it just in view. And we're going to actually turn some lights on for it. How I'm going to fake that without putting some actual emissives on here is I'm going to take a spotlight, make it visible. Put it at the little light right here. And I'm going to set it to movable, of course. I'm going to expand it out a little bit. Open its width. Use it to kind of light up some of the wall over here. I'm gonna set it to 12. Let's set it to 25, so it's a bit brighter. We're gonna duplicate it over to the other side as well. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take this light, I'm gonna duplicate it exactly 180 degrees, and I'm gonna widen it more. I'm gonna shrink it down to right here, so it just lights up right there. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. I'm gonna slide it back into place. Duplicate, reverse 180. Then we're gonna widen it and shrink it down. Too much. Oops, wrong one. There we go. So now if we look at it from back here, that car over there is lighting up the area. We can actually slide it a little bit further forward. Take the car, slide it a little bit forward so we know we can see it. A little bit further back. There we go. Some street lights. Add a street light right here. That'll allow us to put a little light right here. It's a little lightly curved, so there we go. Open it up. Kind of grow the attenuation, grow the inner cone, raise the brightness a little bit, set the movable. There we go. Now that that's in there, we can actually lower these a little bit to about 15. Slide this over so it gets on the front of that wall. There we go. We want that specular sheen. Cinematic. And we can go back to piloting this. Now I've got that light camera, that car right there. It's coming in, lighting up the area. Now we're gonna kind of add on to our bloom to kind of make this area feel a bit nicer. Which we can do in here, or we can do it in our post-processing. Raise up that bloom a little bit. Make these areas shine a bit. Gonna go into our camera. We don't need a camera. We need to go to our film. Take our tone and slope. Kind of play with the post-processing in order to make this area look even better for our little render-ish look. We're going to add in a touch of chromatic aberration. So we can go too high. You can do just a little bit so the colors aren't exactly separated, but it feels like there's a bit more depth. So here we go. There we are. So within the video is recorded for exactly 59 minutes and 39 seconds right now. That is from start to this point right here. Like I said, not the most incredible thing ever, but it works really well for what we're going for. And we could always continue working on it from here. This could be set up to have a bit more of a set to blend in better if we really wanted to. But I feel like we did a decent job in an hour and set up a little area we can really play in. If I wanted to, I could go through and set up the emissive for this little sign right here. Maybe we got, oh, hold on. Hold on. Ooh, it does have a light for it. Nice. That's what I was really hoping it had. So now we could take the light, rect light right here. And since we don't have to make one, we can go ahead and add one in. Or we could go through, if we had to make one, we could take the texture, find the exact wording, take it into a program, draw over the lights, but set everything else to pure black, and that would work. This time we don't use the width, we use the height for once. There we go. We want to turn off the specular for it again. Set that to, let's set it to 0.1. There we go. So now it's at least a little bit there. Duplicate it around to fit the other side too. Here we go. That's what we were going for. That's so much nicer. And if we really wanted to add a little bit of color, which I kind of do, we're going to go in here. We're going to swap this to, let's go with the blue one. Kind of blue laundry sign. We're going to make it match that on the color here. There we go. That's going to spell a world of difference, just that right there. Look at that. So now we've got this entire area set up. If we wanted that to do red, we could. And we can even make this a center point for the light. So if we want to take these, we could slide it over to this side as well. And now we've got this area lit up by that light, so we could delete this. There we go. Had to move around a little bit because the light had to render through. Slide this back over with it. If we wanted to, we could actually duplicate the sign over here as well. So they're double advertised. We can't really fit it over there, dang. So we could keep it like this, or we could put it back to where it was. Which works very well for where it is. So let's see if we've got another sign that we can do the same thing with. No, we don't want to put parking there. So we don't have any more, sadly, but you saw the power that it had on just that one light right there. That adds a world of difference to this level. We're going to take this light, the sign, find our other rect light. Lower them down a bit more. It's kind of right there. If we really wanted to, we could set this little drip stain a little bit further over and work on getting that reflection to show up on there. But that's if we wanted to. Yeah. So I think this is where we're going to stop for this little scene. And yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with this for what it is. A little thing to show you all how to practice your environment design. It's taking into the fact of all these little pieces. So if I really wanted to tell a bit more story, I can have this popped open a little bit. Maybe even set a little light in there. Set some trash in here. There's always more you can do. You can never perfect a scene, but you can always find things to improve. But yeah, I really hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a lot. Like I said, this one's a little bit weirder because environment design's more about figuring out how to make things look, the lighting, but still make it all run smoothly. Like this would all run really smoothly because I didn't do anything wild. I used basic meshes. I could actually take this little corner right here if I wanted to. Looks like it actually didn't settle right there in the corner very well. So there we go. I can actually take this over to the corner over here too. Kind of sell that this corner is here a bit more if I wanted to. Yeah, just something like that. Adds a little bit of depth right there. I could add a few more things right here, of course. Maybe even like a little light down here on the floor. But yeah, I really wanted to just do this because I had a few people asking about environment design. And I know we have covered it on a few videos, but we haven't covered it extensively. But I wanted to show you that even if you don't have the best models in the world, like this isn't a bad pack necessarily. And it can look beautiful if I put a lot more time into it. But you could take a lot of stuff and just using your lighting and using the environment properly, you can make it look really nice. Before I fully close this video out, I wanted to talk about something special. So if you want to practice your environment art and your lighting skills, One thing you could do is also take your same scene that you've got and change the lighting around to be a completely different time of day. So if I take this back to daytime, of course I'll have to change the post-processing too, but I can actually take this to daytime. There we go. Now it's nice and bright, but it all still fits really well together. So I really wanted to show you that if you wanted to, you could take this and to work on your lighting, you could go through and mess with your post-processing and really change the time of day for what you're going for. So I can turn the shadow contrast back up. There we go. So now we've completely changed the time of day and the lighting works really well. So there we go. Now it's daytime and everything still works. But it gives a completely different look of the scene. And that's all I really wanted to tackle real quick is if you want to practice your lighting, take a scene you've already done and redo the lighting 4 or 5 different times to change the entire mood. If I wanted this to be horror, I could go through and make this horror. I could take the directional light and add just the slightest bit of green to it. That'll kind of make it feel somewhat grimy. So it's taking moments to update. There we go. So I didn't want to go that green. That was a little too green, but a slight green, darken it a little bit, and there we go. So now I can take that and I can move it lightly to edit everything, make it real-time update. Turn this back on. So there we go. Now we've got a completely different feel. Change the lighting again. Swap the side that it's on. And of course, as we talked about, to take this cube and duplicate it over here to be able to do that. And there we go. Now we've got this beautiful setup going that we can use to practice our lighting as well. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about was just going through and using your level once you've done it to practice your lighting skills. We did the evening, day, kind of horror, like a slight horror feel to it. And we've got our original nighttime scene, of course. And each one of those can be used in different little projects. But yeah, this is just to give you a way of practicing some more skills inside, on top of your environment design. This was a bit of an entertaining video to do. I hadn't just hopped in and done one of these in a little bit because I've been building actual levels for a long while. But it's always good to come back and do this now and again. It can help with burnout, just building something random for the hell of it. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it, and I hope you all learned something. Little thing I'm going to do right here is lower this down so we get a little reflection right here on the window. But yeah, with that, I think I'll call it. I hope you all have a good day.